Hello, everyone.
Hi. Hi, Steph.
Okay. So let this be an interactive session. You can ask questions anytime during the event. And thanks for having the time to be with us here tonight for 45 minutes, 1 hour, possibly. So first, I'm going to talk about Amdaris as a company. It was founded in 2008 in the UK, Bristol. And it is a software development company. And the first office actually was in Moldova. We have a very, very big office there, about 400 employees. And after that, we had an office in Timișoara in 2012 with about 250 employees at the moment. And later on, last year, Amdaris also opened the office in Bulgaria. Currently, we are about 60 people here. And there are plans to open another office in Varna later this year. And the idea is to continue growing Amdaris more and more. It has expanded actually quite significantly during the last year with doubling the number of customers we are servicing and also doubling the manpower of the company. Okay, Veni?
Okay, so today's event is a little bit, let me give you a little bit of direction. So to tune you about what we are going to talk, to not be surprised. Basically, when we were supposed to think a little bit with Gabi, what we want to talk, we came to understand that it's a very interesting topic to talk about how a story is delivered, which is going to collect the two viewpoints. So the perspective of the business analyst and the perspective of the delivery lead, basically deliver the story. And we wanted to talk a little bit how Amdaris is making it, how we are making it, and how we are making it in IT, basically. So basically the whole meeting and event is gonna covering how from story it to deliver it. And the agenda for today is gonna be like more or less following the business analyst questions, which are not business analytical questions, but are questions of the journalists when they are willing to obtain information. Basically, they are asking, who are we? Who are the people staying in front of us? So we're gonna adopt this perspective, the journalist kind of detective thinking. So we're gonna present you who are we as a delivery lead and a business analyst. What do we do? What we are as a standard supposed to do. How do we do it in Amdaris? Basically, the specific case where we are adopting kind of approaches which are better fitting the Amdaris vision so that we serve our clients. And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about leadershiping and the win-win in IT and the win-win it, basically, to where the win-win it's basically the value that we are delivering to our customers through our daily routines, through our behavior and so on. So I'm gonna pass it to Gabi so that she can present you further.
All right. Who are we? So my name is Gabriela Nistorova. I'm Senior Delivery Lead at Amdaris. I do have a lot of experience in project management and people management with a background from different IT outsourcing companies in Bulgaria. And I'm really passionate about helping people grow and develop. And I'm really happy that at Amdaris I got the opportunity to expand my skills in both areas that I'm passionate about, which is project management and people management. And yeah, Veni?
Yeah, so I'm a business analyst, which is, I would add even business analyst, digital solutions, I would say, because it's very important. Business analysis can happen beyond the IT branch, but obviously Amdaris is an IT company. So let's focus on business analysis of basically in the IT field. In my private life, I could say that I'm a cognitive scientist. I really badly enjoy this, and I would say that this brought me to the business analytical field. I have a lot of experience with experimental modeling and experimental testing in the IT field, and specifically serving the the IT basically users. I've been doing it for 3 years. After that 3 years, specifically business analysis and tech analysis. What I enjoy badly is basically to be a mediator, which means to interpret and be in the middle of two, probably discussing, conflicting, or trying to achieve a goal positions of people. I love storytelling. Basically, the storytelling is the result of the interpretation itself, and I love statistics. They're objectifying these things. So yeah, this is pretty much for me.
Thank you, Veni.
And gonna pass to you. So next thing that we're gonna talk about, it's what do we do exactly. So basically we have the business analyst in Amdaris, we have the delivery lead in Amdaris, but we want to go a little bit to explain the role in the IT. So let's roll it and let's explain what we do exactly.
Okay, I'm going to start with the role of the delivery. So we have two aspects of this role. The first aspect is about leading agile teams. It's basically on every project that the delivery lead is assigned, he or she is also the people manager of the teams. And the main things that we are helping our teams with are people development and growth, because we are acting as servant leaders to our teams and more in a supporting role of what they really need and to grow and further develop their careers in the company. We also do a lot of coaching and mentoring, especially when it comes to the Agile process and Scrum process, and also a lot of soft skills, because the delivery lead at Amdaris can be actually a non-technical role, and there are a lot of delivery leads who don't have development experience background, but it is equally important to be able to develop the soft skills of the teams. That's why we do a lot of coaching and mentoring in that area and growing our teams to be better at communicating and collaborating, at listening, if you will. Also, as part of the job, which is the inevitable part of the job of every people manager, is performance management. This covers everything from performance review, getting feedback for the performance of the people, reviewing salaries, basically working with the teams to define their goals for every quarter and helping them achieve those goals. And of course, team organization and everything that we need to organize a team to work for a specific client. The other aspect of the role is leading client engagement, because the delivery lead actually is a direct client-facing role, as well as the business analyst. And for that part of the job, we do process implementation and management in terms of how the Agile process, the Scrum process needs to be organized for a specific customer, and stakeholder management. So who are the stakeholders from the customer? We are developing communication plans for each stakeholder, and we are mapping them to what communication they need to receive. Normally, we're talking to stakeholders in the likes of a product owner or head of engineering, or really leadership roles from the customer side. We also do a lot of risk management, because you know that for each project we do have risks. They need to be identified in advance, they need to be managed with the customer, they need to be mitigated, etc. until closure. And we also do a lot of client reporting in terms of status report, governance reports, etc. So there is an intersection between leading agile teams and leading client engagements, and this is about conflict management, because big part of the role is actually to resolve conflicts and to mediate conflicts, whether they are between the development teams and the client, or within the development teams, or within the client environment. So there are a lot of situations where we need to resolve conflicts and not avoid them. We do collaborate a lot, and we facilitate the collaboration between the development teams and the customer, and we basically orchestrate the whole delivery organization. So a delivery lead actually can lead the people between 10 and 20 people for a given client engagement, and we also have different levels of seniority of delivery leads at Amdaris. Okay, Penny?
Okay. Just to contextualize a little bit, probably just to make the bond with Gabi. So if I'm in a team in Amdaris and I'm a business analyst, basically Gabi would be probably my first touch point and the person with whom firstly I would talk if I have concerns from soft point of view. So we are talking about the management of people management. If I need some kind of tools, if I need something that is going to help my work and so on. And on the daily basis, obviously, it's my main support while I'm trying to deliver the stories to the knowledge to the developers and preparing the sprint backlog, basically the product backlog for sprinting. Now, the business analyst, what is the role in the IT, how we roll it in Amdaris. So there are multiple aspects, but I'm going to start a little bit from the PO, so the product owner, the so-called product owner, because basically I have buddies with whom I'm supposed to work. So in my case, I have, let's say, two. It's not people, but I would say two things that I'm interested in. One thing is the product owner, and the other thing it's very, very broad term, which is the business. You know, the business could be very arbitrary word, so we're gonna go in depth. Now, the first thing is the product owner, how I'm relating, because as you know, in the Scrum, for example, we don't have a business analyst, so it's a little bit important to relate to other roles that you're already accustomed to, so you understand better what the business analyst in Amdaris is doing. So starting from the product owner, so basically the product owner, it's going to be the one who is really golding. And it's very nice to use this word golding because he's the person who is representing the business. He's the symbol of the business. He's representative, and he's not deliberately building the vision, but he is representing the vision, the long-term goals, basically, of the business. He's doing it via listening to the business, via being empathic to the business, via knowing the product's pitfalls or positives and so on. Now, after that, if we're gonna go and shift to the second thing that I'm interested in, and I'm related somehow as a business analyst, as an IT role, from this perspective, it's the business. And now here, you know, probably most of you that the business can span across different industries. So we can have healthcare, we can have whatever kind of industry. So we don't go to the specific. For us, indifferently from what kind of industry is the business, and we can generalize indeed over there. This means, and from business analytical perspective, we say, okay, what the business is, what the business is actually doing, and basically the business it's targeting. The business. For people outside to have business and to run business, they have targets. The targets of there is their customers, because the customers are bringing profit. This is paying the salaries. This is creating value probably for the society, and so on and so forth. So being busy, so basically having a business and having people that are making and doing business, it's basically targeting the customers, the potential customers to serve, because through serving, you're basically bringing profit. They are bringing profit to their customers in a specific industry, and they are profiting financially, obviously, so that they after that can continue being busy. Now, I'm going to continue being very abstract here because it's I think easier to not go so in specific. We're going to go further. So from my perspective, business is targeting, PO is golding, and the business, when they are targeting, they're generating a lot of information. And I can simplify it basically to the business is receiving input from their customers. The business itself, it's inputting information. But however, after that, they are probably working with this information, whatever kind of information is it in their business. And after that, they are outputting. So they are not only consuming information, but they are even producers of a lot of information. And this information, obviously, it's going to be niche information. It's going to be very business specific, industry specific, and so forth. Can be even department specific, can be even a group specific. So a lot of information, which one business analyst should deal with. So this information is flowing, as you know, can flow freely or can be established within processes. which is the easy way. If it's freely, it's just flow of information getting through tools that the business is using, multiple tools, or information flowing in documents, different type of documents, formats, or even a chit chat between workers in the business. Basically, our stakeholders, they are talking to each other because they have knowledge of their business. This is a valuable information for the business. It's helping the business and so on. But it's so valuable that from time to time, we need even to develop software or something so that we can serve after that other needs, not only to remain as chit chat between stakeholders. And now having these here people basically, and this guy here who is representing them, who's taking them like symbol, the business analyst is coming to basically should be somewhere in between. We're gonna see it in other slides. It's really doing objectification. And it's doing objectification. It's the guys that are, for example, programmers, they know what I would refer to, but it's basically writing a Java, writing and using the Java language. So it's for the business analyst in this situation, every byte of information is becoming an object. And we're trying to relate these objects and to relate them after that to the subject. So the person that is executing a process, either it's a person stakeholder or it's a tool which is executing some process, which is basic function of the business itself and so on. So our main scope, it's like objectifying all of the information coming from the business, but ever since through the prism, it's very important, through the prism of the goal, which is the goal that it's long-term goal, which is keeping in mind what the business should achieve in 10 years, for example. And yeah, probably even could be that this goal here is contradicting the short-term targets that the business has. And it's over there where the business analyst is basically dealing. Now, more specific, business analysts, it's very tricky. And many times I've been asked, oh, so you're doing just analysis of the business. And you're like, no. As you all know, analysis, it's a human thing. It's a type of reasoning. So it's a type of reasoning because we have other types of reasoning. We can analyzing, we can synthesizing information, we can discovering information. Now, these different types of reasoning that we have, basically the business analysts it's executing every day. So I'm a human, not only a business analyst. So, but the main type of reasoning that we should apply and stick with, which is our firm's type of processing information, it's the analyzing. Analyzing, from most of you, probably it's something that you're already accustomed to. It's the deductive type of reasoning. So the deduction, it's permitting us to take complex or complicated chunks of information, to split them, to make them granular, to syntax them in a specific way. We're going to talk later about it, into user stories, the so-called user stories, which are basically narrating very simply what the business needs, wants, likes, would like, should like, and so on. Now, however, this is not the only reasoning, as I mentioned. It might happen that a business analyst during his day, it's supposed to make a synthesis, which is going to be an inductive kind of reasoning, which is building a general conclusion. And I could say that very often the requirements that are coming from the product owners are in the form of inductive type of conclusion.
You mean not very clear, so you had to really
very high level, very general, and it's like, do this, and you're like, no, wait, this is because probably you did the induction because you went to people, you were with the business, you have all of the information in your head, you have synthesized it, because this is a coping mechanism indeed. The PO should cope, so he should stick. I need to know the goal, I need to stick with the goal, but he cannot disregard basically all of the targets that the business it's giving him and the bytes of information they're giving. So the coping mechanism, it's basically inductive reasoning and synthesizing
How are you going back to the product owner and making sure that you get the information that you need to do the story?
And basically, you go and analyze. you go and you start analyze basically deductive reasoning. So you're basically starting to decompose what has been synthesized. Because what has been synthesized, it's a result of the discovery. So the product owner went there, gathered a bit of information, made multiple conclusions and synthesized, came to me with the requirements, and I am, okay, I need to analyze this. I go back to him, I take his synthesis, I get his requirements, and if we cannot split his synthesis, I understand that this is not a complicated requirement, but I understand that it's a complex one. If it's a complex, it's not so easy splittable in small bites. So then the approach would be go and discover new bytes of information that probably we are lacking, which is basically our requirement gap discovery. It's a requirement gap, and we go again to discover new bytes of information. So to make new conclusions, probably again to do a small synthesis, but all of this, it's like, I would say that it's go like, you know, that sign of for the infinite.
And for that, you need to speak with other parts of the business
Yes.
as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
not only the product.
yeah. But it's very important that this person here, it's in between, because as a business analyst, it's such a role that it might happen that we're humans. We can deviate from. If there is no fun point which are bringing us back to what is important, we can deviate. This is why the prioritization are needed. This is why we need to have consistent meetings with the product owners and to keep track of it. So yeah, and to not permit the abductive kind of reasoning to impose basically what to be done, because it's important even that the business, it's not imposing what they need, because it's possible that they are not able, you know, when we are people, we think that we need something, but we are so into our problems that we cannot see the picture from outside, and where is the PO coming and saying, no, don't make abduction, don't generate constant information. We know your goal, we are with you, and we have analyzed everything. We have clear understanding what's going on. So we keep track of your business. We are right behind you, and so on. So pretty much this.
Stefan has a question.
Yeah. Oh,
so that's really interesting, and I wanted to ask a question to your point of view. Just what you said. Where do you put then the user validation? Because it's true, sometimes some stakeholders within the business, even sometimes the PO themselves, are kind of getting really self-involved, and they think that what they want is the true thing. But would you be willing to request kind of a user validation to go with the, with a product designer and do some interviews with, super users and stuff like this, just to validate those requirements and those needs, just to prove, so to say, the concept that it's really needed and it's used?
Yeah. Now it's a situation to situation. It's a practice that we can use. So far in Amdaris, this kind of validation, first we should start. It's a project to project. What you're stating, it's a good practice, the validation itself. But from experience, I had experienced even situation when you validate, but the validation after that, it's rejected. For example, it might happen that the business is coming, validating, and after that, they are just finding after a couple of days, or can be a week, or even after the development of the functionality or feature or whatever we are developing, to come and say it's not exactly what we validated at that time. And I honestly hesitate to be very punctual with the validations and with the sign-offs, because it might feel offensive for the business, at least from what's seen. The business shouldn't, from my perspective, from so far and experience, must not be perceived as cornered. We need to be there around, to collaborate,
work with them as a team.
I had I can give even one example in previous projects outside of Amdaris and so on. There was this situation when there was explicitly requested that we do sign-offs. Again, project to project, business to business. This is why we are collaborating, talking, seeing whether the business really needs this, because it might be that the business doesn't need validations in the way we think it's right to be done. As I said, some of the business minds feel it as a cornering. And so I think that the best ways to use strategies that are applicable for the specific customer that we have. No one strategy that is applicable everywhere.
Yeah. Also, we do have a governance model in place, which ideally needs to be agreed at the beginning of the project. We will talk about that in the next slide. So all these things like how to manage the process of business analysis, if you will, something that needs to be discussed upfront of the project and agree with the business how it will work for them. For example, would they need validation or not? Yeah. Did this answer the question?
All right, David.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Let's move forward. Okay, next section, we're going to talk about how do we do it, how do we do our job of a delivery lead and business analyst, and how do we do things at Amdaris as a whole of leading the software development projects. Okay, first we have adopted the Agile methodology for all of our software development projects because we firmly believe that the Agile methodology actually is the methodology that needs to be used to develop valuable software. And probably most of you know that each cycle of delivering working software is done via sprints. And for each sprint, we do plan, design, build, test, and review the code before releasing it into production. The idea here is to do releases after each increment is being developed, and we have a working software very early delivered to the customer. And actually, the customer sees value in it because they invest some money in the software development projects, and while following the Agile methodology, you actually do deliver a working software pretty quickly in the cycle, let's say after a couple of weeks or after 1 or 2 months at most. We're talking about the minimum viable product, which is the first version of the software. So definitely we have adopted the Agile methodologies here, and we act as advisors to our customers if they have not adopted it yet. Delivery lead role is actually to advise the customer how to adopt it, to basically lead them through the whole cycle, coach them, mentor them, if you will. Okay, here on this slide, I would like to present the software delivery lifecycle at Amdaris and how we do things here. So first we start with the program initiation and startup. This is the time where we do engage with our customers, with our main stakeholders, and we define what should be the product vision of the software that we need to develop. We also discuss with the customer what should be the solution. Maybe they have a solution already in mind, or they don't, but in most of the cases, in the majority of the projects that we have at the company, the customer already has an idea of where they want to go. So we do have meetings with them to discuss what the solution should be. Sometimes they also need from us to further develop the solution from high-level design to low-level design, and we do have solution architects which engage in this stage of the project. We also establish program management, which is basically about governance, who should be taking the decisions, who are the decision makers from the customers, from our business stakeholders, how we should interact with them, how often we can meet, what type of decisions we can take, etc. And we establish how we need to drive the program going forward. Yeah.
Is this like a contract, or it's like meetings where you're making discussion and you're like basically collaborating to elicit these points?
We do have contract with our customers, which are called work orders, but what I'm going to explain is more our interaction with the customer.
Okay, daily basis.
What phases we go through. So after program initiation and startup, we go through the requirements gathering. Here, Veneta touched upon the role of the business analyst here. And here, we need to know from the customer what are the requirements for developing the software. And these requirements are written in the form of user stories. So we define what should be the user stories. Each user story needs to have acceptance criteria to know what should be the success acceptance criteria or the success criteria to consider this user story as developed and done. We also require from the customer very often flow diagrams and some visuals like designs or wireframes of how this user story should look like in reality. And very important point, in each requirement or user story needs to have definition of ready and definition of done. Definition of ready means what are requirements for this user story to be ready for development by the development team. And the definition of done is what should we consider as developed or done product. So there are certain criteria that needs to be followed. So this needs to be agreed in advance with the customer and as part of the onboarding process. Of course, the user stories need to be prioritized. Veneta will talk about later how this is done and what are the best methods that we're following. And also we talk about when we prioritize them, what which user story should be there for the minimum viable product and after that. So we do talk a little bit about deadlines as well.
Did I hear wrongly, or you mentioned, I think the customer should give us designs and wireframes, or aren't we the one that we are producing designs and wireframes, flowcharts?
I mean, design. For
Sketches.
example, in my project, we don't have a business analyst from Amdaris, so the customer is providing them. But for the business analyst, you're saying he would be doing that.
So here it's very important project to project. So basically, the requirements gathering, it's again very could have variable ways of requirements gathering. Could be, I would mention here, we can have passive and active type of requirements gathering, which means what is the active one from point of view of what we said before. The business analyst role. Active requirements gathering could be the business analyst who, in combination with the product owner, they are basically interviewing or making workshops or making user acceptance testings or making experimental testings with groups that are not even within the company but outside, so to test the value of a functionality feature or whatever it's to be developed. This is the active, the proactive way of requirements gathering. So going and eliciting and searching for requirements gaps, searching for new information, and basically discovering. The passive one would be when, for example, in another projects, like differently from Gabi's, is going to be when the customer can pass you just requirements, which are, when I mentioned to all of you, the synthesis parts. So basically you're receiving one file with very high level phrases with this is what we require, without any kind of specification and very high level, which can be starting point, but obviously it's the business analyst coming over there to revise. So over there, these are different approaches, or can be the stakeholder, it's coming and again passively, probably verbally, giving you kind of requirement, or even in a chit chat talk. You're talking with the business, and while talking to the business about something that they are doing on their daily basis, you're eliciting something and you're finding something that it's basically required. They just said, for example, I needed that or this and so on. Yeah.
Yes, Stefan?
Yeah, this is what I actually meant before when I said user validation, because if someone from many of the business holders is coming up to you with requirements, it be just me. The requirements that they come with might be just their personal, shopping list,
exactly,
shopping basket. Where if you use validation at such points, you can verify it with the other stakeholders and super users to just see whether this is really applicable and really needed. Because otherwise, it might be just one person's wish list.
Yeah,
so to say.
Absolutely. Now, indeed, after that, I just more specifically understood what you meant. And I, for example, in my project right now, I do cross-checking, but I do it like through the analysis. So basically, if I have a requirement, we would, for example, try to experience so that we see whether the need is really a need, or it's a want, or it's a wish. After that, we are making the other stakeholders or to experience this as well. So from this point of view, yeah, just like basically letting all of them to experiment and to make the same experience and to reach the conclusion. And then we are checking, are all of them reaching the same conclusion? So basically, are all of them reaching the moment when to say, oh, this is really needed? and we should have it, or we must have it, and so on. So yeah, absolutely agree from this point. Validating.
Yeah.
Passing to Gabi.
Just as long as you agree up front who's going to participate, just to put this as a requirement up front on your project, and have the stakeholders from the customer who can participate in the whole process. Yeah.
It's again, I as a business analyst, you're going to say agreement. Can be very vaguely understood. So depending again on the size of the business, depending on the stakeholders, depending on the industry, for some agreement, it's very easy. So this means that all of the people somehow are agreeing, and it's seen that there is agreement. But there might be a moment in time when somehow the agreement cannot be reached in the way we think that it should be agreed. Okay. So yeah. we skip just the sign off things if it's not required, and okay. We just make them experience together and to reach a conclusion. Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right. After requirements gathering, we move to the code development. And this covers everything from writing the actual code in the language that has been agreed with the customer to be written. Here, maybe it's time to say that at Amdaris, the majority of the projects are web applications or .NET, and there are some projects on Python, like I'm working on a Python project on the moment, but these are very few. So the development covers everything from writing the actual code, write unit tests, write integration tests, do the peer reviews together. So all the activities that the development team needs to do here. And we also do have the Agile ceremonies, which we're going to talk about in the next slide, like daily meetings, meetings to review and demo the increment for every sprint, etc.
And I would say that I don't know how it's in your product, but in Amdaris, for the first time I saw that when like the delivery leads that are really making their best, that these meetings are just not getting into the meeting, closing the meeting.
Yeah,
It's really bringing value, and really the people who are working together are like using these rituals.
All right. So we do try to adopt continuous integration on most of the project, where the code is integrated daily in a shared repository, and there is automated build, which allows for early problem detection. I must say this is not happening on every project, because we very much depend on the architecture of our customers and what they have in terms of tools and process behind. But we do analyze each project, especially we as delivery leads are conducting audits, technical audits on the projects with different stakeholders and with the technical teams. And we do advise our customers on the adoption of the best practices for service delivery lifecycle, agile, and continuous integration is part of that. So we do drive our teams, including the customer teams, to move in that direction. And last but not least, after the code is integrated, it is being released. Of course, as part of the release process, we have also a lot of testing done from the users. So the so-called user acceptance testing, we do performance load testing, security testing, etc. We deploy to live production, and we do have the release notes as well. Now, these releases can happen as often as every sprint, but we're going to talk about that in the next slide. All right, actually most of our projects, probably 90%, are working following Scrum. And you know that every sprint can be between 1 and 4 weeks. In terms of the product owner, this is the role that is representing the stakeholders, as we have already discussed on the previous slides. Normally, the product owner is from the customer side. When we talk about our Amdaris client engagements, it's always the person from the customer side. Then we have the business analyst, Veni, who is closely collaborating with the product owner and is listing the needs of all stakeholders, the business and the product owner and everyone. This role has been put here on purpose because you know that the business analyst role is not part of the Scrum guide, but we have found it a very valuable role to add to our client engagements, especially to act as a mediator between our development teams and the business stakeholders and the product owner. That's why we have intentionally included this role here in the middle. Then, of course, we have the development team where we have normally the developers, the QA engineers, product designers, solution architects, making sure that they satisfy the needs of the stakeholders and making sure they develop the requirements. And then it is my role, delivery lead, which very often we need to play also the role of a Scrum Master. So if you remember, we had a delivery lead with both hats, leading client engagements and leading the Agile teams as a people manager. Sometimes the delivery lead can also act as engagement lead, where the Scrum Master role is assumed by the customer, but the delivery lead is still there on the project to support the customer and to support the team, being an engagement lead. So as part of the Scrum process, you know that we have the product backlog, which is designed by the product owner and the business analyst, if the business analyst is assigned from Amdaris. So the two roles work together in collaboration. After that, we have the sprint planning meeting, which is done at the beginning of every sprint. And it can be 1 hour or 2 hour duration. And in this meeting, of course, we decide the product owner and the business analyst are clarifying what the priorities are for the current sprint. And together with the development team, they're deciding which user stories to put in the sprint, which form the sprint backlog. And after that, of course, we do have the development work here between 1 and 4 weeks. And normally the sprints, we do follow the cycle of the customer, and we do have as you saw on the previous slide, we do agree with them what the Agile ceremony should be and how often they should take place. We do have the daily stand-up, which is usually 15 minutes, and sprint review and retrospective, very important meetings where we demo, the development team demos what has been developed to the customer and gather the feedback from everyone. And here on these meetings, we discuss also what should be improved in terms of coding or process, etc. And then we finished work. And normally it's best practices after the sprints, we do have the releases into live environment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how do we store it?
Yep. In the previous cycle, so basically, let's if we go back a little bit with the reasoning and so on. So the product backlog, you usually know that per Scrum Guide, if we go, the owner of the product backlog is basically the product owner, okay? And the product owner, so his incarnation, he is basically the symbol of the business, but he has 2 main functions when he's getting into the prod team. So he basically needs to order the backlog, so to create the work items, to order the backlog, and to prioritize. Usually in Scrum Guide, if you go, it's pretty straightforward written. Basically, this person is supposed to do all of these things, and over there, as you know, there is no business analyst, so it's all of the burden it's on his shoulder, and it's stated that he can delegate to another person, that the other person is doing this. So it might happen that during a talk with the product owner is just delegating example to the business analyst or to some of the developers or the QAs, or even to the delivery lead or the Scrum Master, to create basically the work item that is in his backlog. So we should put it on the product backlog. Now, we stated before that the requirements are very high level. So if we go with the standard division in initiatives, capabilities, epics, we're not going to go there. But let's imagine, let's just use some word that hasn't been used. Let's say that the product owner has his own working item, type of working item that he's creating. And this item, it's the requirement of his. And as we stated before, it can be a synthesis of such a complicated or complex bulk of information, so that the business is coming into the game and starting to split most of the working items of the product owner into comprehensive small chunks of bytes of information, so that the developers can pick them, so that we understand the vision and so on. So what is the main duty of the business analyst is basically to store it. And I'm pretty sure you're very accustomed to what is storytelling. It's not an IT invention. We have cinema, we have books, novels, and so on. It's super random kind of syntax. So in Amdaris, we are using this app, like as a user, I want or I need something so that I achieve something. So this need or will, once this is satisfied, this is going to bring value to me, and me as being part of the business, I'm bringing value to the business and so forth, and to my clients and servicing. So standard things as could be not only user instance straight sense, could be, a system instead of the user. As a system, this, for example, I won't need, we can even subjectify the systems or other tools and so on. It's possible. Now, I'm pretty sure that you're accustomed even with this. Gabi touched before the prioritization. So I'm not going to talk about diagramming and so on. You know that these are all tools that we're using so that we describe easily the complicated requirements. With the complex, yeah, I think it's better when we go with sketching, so that we cannot go so in specific over there. The complex things are very tough to be, they cannot be split in the way that complicated things can be. Once we have a storyboard, basically, a storyboard will be like this one, all these multiple stories basically are combining one storyboard.
Do you get it in Excel at the beginning, or it's directly?
Oh, this is this is a pain point. Okay, this is a pain point. Now in Amdaris, in the project that I've been so far, there is a practice that you do this in Excel sheet. So basically the requirements are arriving in an Excel sheet.
And from the product owner.
Yeah, if these are passively passed, even if verbally passed by product owner or other stakeholders, again in Excel sheet, or Excel sheet is directly shared with you, for example, and you start storytelling. Okay, searching for the personas and storyboarding and so on. But this is a practice. This is a practice in Amdaris.
So after you finalize them in Excel, you would enter them in Jira or another. Yeah, Jira is the most commonly used tool for
Jira or Azure
DevOps.
DevOps. Yeah.
But you would enter them after you have agreed.
Yes,
Excel,
this is a practice in Amdaris that has been adopted. There are some, how to say, ongoing, at least in some of the project, there are some ongoing, talks about. Okay, all of the work of discovery, this from business analytical perspective, all the work for the discovery itself. So gathering different bytes of information while you're listing the requirements are getting lost, because you cannot put in Excel all of the important information in one column.
Mm-hmm.
So if you log directly Jira, it's good because you can, Jira or Jira, that you have comments. So basically you can elicit requirements within the tool itself. But it's something that, again, this is very important. It's up to project. It's up to decision of the business in combination with Amdaris, because for example, giving an example, some of our products, they are delivering us Excel, and they are starting to put notes, basically updates of their own requirements in the Excel in each column. And at some point they're getting lost in their own comments and and they don't remember what was, and you're just losing very precious information and time in it.
So it would be a best practice to do it directly in Jira then?
Generally, yes. Yeah, but this is a matter of again, it should be collaborative work, and the people, all the interested people, so the stakeholders should feel okay. Now going back to prioritization. So the prioritization, as I said, as I tried to start saying, in the Scrum Guide should be done basically directly in the tool that probably it's used by the PO. Can be Excel sheet, can be Jira, can be in Azure, whatever, even on a piece of paper if he wants or she wants. The prioritization should be done by him or her, following, however, a scale that, how to say, should be recognized, because I can put numbers on these stories, but this is an arbitrary statistic. This is arbitrary way of the ranking and categorizing using numbers. Is arbitrary decision. So when we work with multiple stakeholders, it's very important that one way of categorizing user stories is chosen while prioritizing. Because for me, it might happen that one, it's not equal exactly to one, or for the other stakeholder, not exactly. So multiple stakeholders, good that we have one tool and one way of defining. So more can be, this can be 1, 2, 3, 4 as priority, but still this must be agreed with the stakeholders so that they are recognizing when they see the priority, they know what is meant there.
So you need to agree in advance what
it's good. It's good. Otherwise, it's happening. You know what was happening? This is critical for me. Why? And on the other side, no, this is not critical. And you're like, okay, this is critical. This is not critical. What do you understand by critical? Do you use number to measure it and so on? And the best practice generally in IT servicing, it's going to measure. This is still subjective to some extent, but this is how the business works. To see whether we have low risk or higher risk, whether the user story is low or higher risk, what is the impact on the business, what is the effort, and so on. And this metric should be used in both from both perspectives, technical and business. But I'm not going to go in depth on this one. And you can see that on the bottom part we can clearly distinguish when we put here user stories on this horizontal level. We are basically understanding what is needed.
But I work
versus
with the product owner and business stakeholders to put in each box what is a must-have, what is a should-have.
It's good.
Or you get the
yes.
input first.
Yes. To which input?
From them, what should be must-have, should-have, could-have.
My first, or so far in Amdaris at least, we just categorize them. For example, in Jira, you have this data system. So you say, let's go open, if the tickets are already in the system, in the tool, you go and you say, must have, should have, and so on. Or you can go to Miro board and stick
But
them.
how are you deciding? Are only the business deciding that prioritization?
Yes, they're in one group. And for example, we are opening the case and 2 or 3, 4 stakeholders are like, this is the case. As a user, I want this, that, and that, so that this. Is this a must for our business? Should we have it, or could we have it, or we won't have it at all? And they just very fastly debrief, yeah, it's a must. And when we have the majority, basically, we are choosing the must.
Yeah.
So I think it's democratical type.
Yeah, but we need to say that when the requirements are prioritized in these 4 categories, then we need to have a selection of them which we need to deliver for the minimum viable product, MVP. This is the first version of the software, as we discussed. And the team, actually, the development team and Amdaris need to agree to when this will be delivered, right? So yeah, this is a requirement, but there needs to be collaboration between Amdaris and the customer to agree on these requirements and when they will need to be delivered. Yeah, but
this is going with the starting and deadline dates there. Yeah, absolutely. Just the priorities, it's not related so much with the starting and ending date. Yeah. So this is a little bit different. So let me go to the most interesting part. Amdaris, what we talked about so far, it's basically what we do, how we do it in Amdaris, from the perspective of the delivery lead and the business analyst. And this can be explained through leadershiping, but the final scope, it's just to win. We win and the user and the customer wins. And this is the leadershiping. And there is a very good metaphor that we can use that is representative for what we are doing, how we are doing it, and why this can be said as leadershiping. And this is the thing that it's the leadershiping from our perspective as representatives, as business analysts and delivery lead in Amdaris. Basically, a non-zero-sum game, for the game theory people, I'm pretty sure that you know it, is basically when we have 2 sides and both of the sides are gaining some value, are gaining something from the interaction that is happening between the 2 parts. So basically what's happening while we are collaborating in this way, while we are using these practices and so on, is that we win, basically, we as Amdaris, and after that, our customers are winning. So you and I, we are winning together, and that's the value we are going out. And we are our practices basically are not permitting us to be in a type of relations that are resulting in zero summing, which is basically, for example, I as Amdaris like representative to win something or to learn something or gain something while my business is losing a lot. So this is just not happening if we adopt all of the practices that we so far talked about. And gonna pass to Gabi so that she represent them better.
Yeah. So on this slide, which is the last one from our event today, I want to talk about the behaviors of a win-win leadership, if you will. And it starts with the mindset. It doesn't matter actually how much experience you have in terms of years, but actually what is the mindset of the people. And in order to be successful and establish successful relationship with the customers. So as part of this mindset, we do have this decentralized decision-making where we actually, the development team take decisions how to organize themselves, how to split the tasks for the sprint and work on them. And they have a lot of power to figure out how to deliver the story to the customer, actually. Also, we allow the development teams to fail and to learn from their failures. And it's a very safe environment where you can experiment with the job and with the coding and everything. And if you fail, you will be able to learn, and it's much appreciated from everyone. So it's called a growth mindset, where if you're failing in something, it's a learning opportunity for you to grow. We embrace the change because being agile means we do get changing requirements all the time, and we need to discuss with the customer how to fulfill those changing requirements and how to make it happen for them. So it's a win-win for everyone. We are open in our communication with our customers, between ourselves, and maintain open relationship in all levels of the company and outside. When there are conflicts, we do resolve them. We don't avoid them, because when you avoid the conflict, then you may end up in a situation where this conflict is aggravating more and more, and it becomes something bigger. So we make sure that we resolve them on time. We are accountable for our actions, and we don't transfer the accountability to anybody else. And we do collaborate internally, externally, to make it happen and to deliver the story. Yeah, so that was from us. Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions from anyone? Yeah, go ahead, Sergio.
Just open all of your microphones and just start, because otherwise it's like talking to a wall, here. So yeah, with whatever. So feel free, all of you, to open your microphones and just express whatever. And if we can answer something, pretty nice. And
Sergio, you had a question?
No.
It was very informative.
Thank you.
Thank you. We heard only informative. Yes. Okay. Let's leave it to the interpretation. So yeah. It was very high level and abstract, probably, but hope that didn't annoy you, all of you. But it was like brainstorming even for us. We are not working with Gabi. I don't know who knows and who doesn't know. So it was a discovery for us to discover each other, even though we're beating each other every day. So yeah, different approaches. And
I think Stefan wanted to ask something as well.
No, I was just clapping at the end. It's just,
okay. Thank you very much.
I like the presentation. It's really good that we're sharing these insights. And yeah, maybe the key thing is that there is, in Agile especially, there isn't one size fits all. So the key thing is depends on the project and you adopt the best practices for the project.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably what we
Thank you.
own to each other, like IT specialists, it's to how to say, because it's very beautifully used, share the knowledge, show the practices and so on. But I see that juniors or other people who are willing to change, for example, job position from job position and so on, the struggle is giving the reason behind a decision of adoption of a strategy or approach. And this shows how complex is it, because in a specific situation, you should really know what you should sense, what is a core reason, you should know what tool to use, you should know what strategy to adopt so that you're sure that you're straight to the point. Otherwise, it's not working. Just not working. Hey, thanks, Lily.
Yeah.
Thank you both. I just wanted to say a great presentation, really good. Thank you both. And what really shone through for me was the importance of collaboration. Really great to see you guys doing a presentation together and from different.
Yeah, it was a completely new format for us, but we decided to be in one room together and pass the ball to each other.
Yes, it's really good. That really shone through. So collaboration between business analysts and DL, collaboration with the development team, and critically collaboration with our engineering, and the client as well. And the other thing that really shone through for me was the real focus on value. So ultimately that's what we're here to deliver, to help our clients to win. And that was a really great thing throughout your presentation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Charlie.
Appreciate
Thanks.
your feedback.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, I think this is recorded, so we'll have Danny, our marketing specialist, distribute it afterwards.
Yeah, the video.
Baeva wasn't able to join.
Yeah, and
happy to see you soon. Enjoy your evenings, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a nice evening.
Bye-bye.